Welcome to the Midweek Conversation of First Baptist Sweetwater, where our goal is to be the first responders of God's love. My name is Jerry Hendricks, and I'm here again this week in Studio A with good friend, co-worker, peer, whatever else, T. Hamilton.
Hey, Jerry.
Good to see you today. Hey, I thought we'd start off with a game today.
Okay.
2 truths and a lie.
Okay.
Do you have any for yourself?
Sure, I can come up with them. Is it for me or for you?
It's
or both
for you,
of us?
man.
Oh. Well, I knew yours.
I know.
Sunday morning.
Well, it was such a weird thing. So the 2 truths and a lie I started my message with on Sunday is I've collected Barbie dolls, I've collected baseball cards, I've collected basketball cards. Now, some people, and the trick on it was, okay, I have not ever collected basketball cards.
Right.
That was the lie. Most people thought, I figured in trying to construct that, since I love basketball so much and talk about it a lot, that they would assume that it was that. Well, the other one that I had not counted on was the fact that some people know that I really despise baseball. In fact, I loathe it.
Wow, that's an intense feeling.
Well, maybe not that bad. I have friends who love baseball, so I love my friends.
Good. Yeah, so that threw them off because apparently they didn't know you as well as I knew you.
Yeah, I know. So for a brief, and all of those, both of those, I collected in my adult years, not as a kid.
Right. Good clarification.
Yeah. And so anyways, my first Barbie doll I sold for $800. I don't know. I want to say that again so that people would understand that I wasn't what kind of collector I was. I wasn't just a collector. I was an investor, I suppose.
Right. Yeah.
But anyways, it got us off to a good start, though, talking about finding truth, and John and Peter are laying down some truth.
Right.
Oh, and you notice I said John and Peter. I don't know why we always say Peter and John when we usually do that alphabetically, but.
Huh. Peter becomes more well known. He doesn't get exiled.
Yeah, true.
Because that happens there.
Yeah. Anyways,
that is interesting, though. Is it because he becomes like the leader of the church in Jerusalem?
I don't. I just think it's because he's the primary spokesperson.
He speaks at Pentecost.
Yeah.
So.
He's the one accredited with most of the addresses.
Right, because if John was writing, it would have been Peter and the disciple Jesus loved.
Yeah,
right.
Right.
So,
not that there's anything wrong with that.
Because Jesus only loved one disciple.
Oh my goodness! But wow, it was such a fun day. You know, I think one of the things I guess we've talked about this. Maybe I'm thinking off camera here, but there's a difference. We don't have more people gathering than we did in 2019, pre-COVID.
Okay.
But we're so much more appreciative. There's a different spirit in looking at attendance and seeing people come and be a part of this. Because a lot of times I've walked away knowing that our numbers are still in that 80% of normal range, but everyone left feeling good about the number of folks that were here.
Right, and they're spaced out.
Yeah.
That helps. It makes it feel better.
Right.
It took COVID to help people understand what we've been saying for years now. Like 6 years now, we've been saying space out.
Exactly. And so Sunday was another one of those Sundays with, that is even before when we only had normal circumstances, a really high day for us in terms of attendance and emotion and feeling and experience. But Sunday was, for all of those reasons, a really good day for us.
It was a packed day, and it was a lot of fun.
And I know we don't want to miss the stress that this is for a youth minister, not just that day, but weeks leading up to it.
Yeah, there's nothing more fun for me in my life than putting together the picture slideshows. That was sarcasm.
Okay.
I do enjoy seeing the pictures. I love seeing the pictures because parents take that as an opportunity to give you pictures that their kids might not know you're being given.
Right.
Ask Robert Moore. He can tell you a great story about that from when Tim graduated, and scanning those in and seeing them. So that's a lot of fun. And then I know usually what pictures are in it, and the kids don't. So as they're walking up to get their gift, which we give them a Bible and a copy of Love Does, as they're getting it, they're watching the screen, wanting to know what pictures their parents picked out to put on the screen.
Sabotage, yeah.
And it's quite enjoyable. And I usually do point out, say, hey, here comes a good one of you.
Yeah.
And they're like, eyes big. So.
Well, it was a special day. I know for you, you've poured a lot into this group of kids, and I guess it's frustrating that we had the year that we've had,
right?
Particularly with this group.
Yeah, it is. I mean, just losing the COVID year, you knew it was going to kind of make you take a step back. But it was good even in the midst of that. Things like Zoom Bible studies to see them joining in. So that was good.
Yeah. Well. It'll be fun to see what goes on next with this group, and we look forward to staying connected with him, which I feel like we do a better job here than what we have done in the past.
Yep, I saw Kenzie Avalos, who graduated last year, today, and she was thanking me for all the gift cards that they got, and I said that was our women's team. She said, I know, that was so cool, and there were a lot of gift cards in there, and so she was excited, and I said, I'll let them know, give your thanks to them, and so that's cool.
Well, I think we may have mentioned this last week, that our women's ministry collects gift cards for our graduates, those that are in school and going to and getting close to facing finals and things like that. So that has to be a blessing.
Oh yeah.
So.
I mean, it's college students live on fast food.
Yeah.
And so that helps.
Helps a lot.
But yeah, we had several of them that have already reached out and said thank you so much for what they appreciated, and it does kind of give you that time to not have to worry about something else.
Right. Yeah. Well, it's a lot to look forward to in our relationships with them, and also things coming up. We have a lot on our calendar and a lot on our agendas as we kind of make our push towards summertime.
Yeah.
Sunday was, as far as text and story, we told the story of Peter and John before the Sanhedrin, and they had an opportunity to tell their story and tell their side of the story of the healing of the lame beggar, and it was those are really good passages. I feel like as you continue to hear the gospel, I think we start to understand the gospel better, and more people start to follow because of the gospel that's being preached in the different ways that are different opportunities that are given, even when those are not maybe necessarily the best circumstances.
Right. And it was great that it was paired with Senior Sunday, because looking at kids going out and sharing the gospel with others random.
Not a bad commissioning segue there, which is how we finish that service for our seniors.
Yeah. Which is one of my favorite ways that we do things. I think I say that a lot, but I love the commissioning idea that you take seriously, because we're studying the church right now, Acts, and how they were called to pray and send off. And so we see that as a vital part of our church, that we're sending whenever someone leaves. It's not just you're leaving, we're going to say bye crying. It's no, you're going to do God's work, and we're commissioning, and that's cool. I like that.
Well, it is a good picture of the church, and that's kind of where we're headed this next Sunday when we're at that place where everything up until now in our study through chapter 4, everything has been pretty compact around Jerusalem. Peter and John being the most notable as far as the preaching and teaching, and then all of a sudden they find this need. They respond to a need, and they appoint some new deacons. And one of those deacons is Stephen, and apparently he was a pretty gifted teacher.
Yeah.
Came under criticism, and in a mob or a group presumably led by Paul. Is it safe to say that? My theological check. Oh, Saul, yes, thank you. I have fast forward to chapter 8, haven't I? So we have the stoning of Stephen. And then it moves quickly from there into chapter 8, which is where we're going to be in Sunday with Philip, one of the appointed new deacons, meets an Ethiopian. And so, is that right? Yeah.
Those new deacons were awful at their job.
Yeah.
They were appointed to do one specific task, and they end up all over the world teaching.
Well, the transition that's taking place, the segue from our seniors going in places, is you see really the church starting to emerge because of the scattering, because their people had started to scatter after the death of Stephen. And so you really see another one of those cases where something that was tragic turns out to be used by God in some very powerful ways,
Right.
in the way that we see the gospel being spread throughout that country.
It's like what you said with pandemic, that the gospel has been shared more places around the world because of us going online
Right.
than it probably ever has in the history of spreading the gospel.
Well, and it's one of those things I think it really ought to. It'll be interesting to see how it specifically develops in our conversation on Sunday. But it's one of those things that really ought to help us better respond to things outside our control. Understanding that God's purposes are still going to be fulfilled as we
Right.
work our way through this. And I think ultimately, if we respond to that well, then all of us are better because of that.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
And so the activity of the early church definitely bears that out. And it's one of those, again, where it's exciting to see how things began to develop. And so we've also been talking about how things began to develop for our own church.
Right.
And Glenn shared some of that. Glenn Harrison shared some of that Sunday again in a historical segment that we've used the last 3 weeks, talking about how the gospel was able to spread through First Baptist Sweetwater to develop other churches throughout our community.
Hearing him tell the stories, he's a natural storyteller, so it's been enjoyable, and I've had a lot of people comment on that. But I think he needs a title, like historian in residence. I don't know. We got to come up with something for him because he does a great job with it.
Okay, you turned on me there. I didn't know you were going to go silly on me.
No, I'm serious. He needs a title. But I like the in residence idea.
Yeah.
So, but no, everybody's enjoyed it. Well, the ones I've talked to have enjoyed it, and they're engaging and looking at pictures. I think that's the fun part, of seeing those old pictures too.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where what we had hoped in those segments was that the newer people would embrace our past as well. And I think probably better than any of the other history moments that we've shared during our worship, the one Sunday I think was one of the best demonstrations when you saw our footprint in the community through the number of churches that we started throughout our history.
Seeing need for more than just one church.
Yeah, and all of our church and all of those have changed dramatically since those times, and but we're still meeting and we're still church. So it does lead us into those things that are next for us, and I think we're at a place as we wrap up this series on Sunday where we're curious about the way God will weave our future for us, and we're pointing towards a day of celebration on December the 11th, and a lot of plans are already being laid for that as far as reservations anyways, and making sure that we have certain things in place that we need to early. But that's going to be an exciting time as we, from this point forward, kind of stir this pot occasionally and start to really rethink and revision who we are as First Baptist Church Sweetwater.
This isn't meant to be a sidebar, but it is. You're talking about this Sunday it's the last Sunday of Woven, right?
Right.
Okay. And it's also a major Hallmark holiday, right? Mother's Day is this Sunday.
Yes.
So dads, kids, this is your chance. Mother's Day is coming this Sunday. But what I love about it is Woven isn't a typical Mother's Day sermon.
Right.
We don't put a lot of emphasis. No, we really don't put much emphasis at all on holidays that are outside of the Christian spectrum.
Right.
And so we make a big deal about Pentecost. My phone is vibrating in my pocket. We make a big deal about Pentecost because it's part of the Christian calendar. We talked about Advent and Lent and Ash Wednesday and things like that. But we don't allow outside influences to shape our worship. We allow those Christian liturgical ones to shape our worship. And I love that. Now, we're still doing something for mothers.
Right.
We're still going to have a really cool thing for the mothers. But we celebrate worshiping as the church would, the early church would.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the way you and I probably have heard it best was we don't let Hallmark determine the preaching calendar for the church.
Yeah.
And so
Hallmark, anything.
But for Mother's Day, we're going to have something different for our mothers. We'll have a photo opportunity for our folks in the foyer. So come early, or plan on staying for a few minutes after worship. I know it's going to be another packed day for us probably, but a good time for you to get some good photos with Mom this week.
And
I think
again,
it's going to be really good.
Dads, kids, this is your warning.
Yeah, Mother wants you to go to church.
That
That's
is
what
true.
Teek's trying to say.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
and if you don't believe us, that you don't have to believe us, just ask your mother. And so,
Good luck.
we'll see you Sunday.
Yep.
Anyways, thanks for joining us. Let us be a part of your midweek. We look forward to seeing you on Sunday.
See you then.